Have you ever watched someone who always had the upper hand suddenly realize they've lost control, that you are no longer playing their game? That's when it happens, the shift, the power reversal. And let me tell you, the narcissist's reaction when they realize it's truly over, it's explosive, but it's also revealing, because that moment isn't just the end of their grip on you. It's the beginning of your freedom, and that, my friend, is where the real transformation begins. Let's get real right now. You gave, you believed, you trusted, you stayed. You tried to fix, to understand, to explain. You were the one who held the space, carried the weight, and sacrificed your peace, all in the name of love, hope, or maybe just survival. And in return, you got manipulation, gaslighting, emotional chaos. You were blamed, minimized, and made to question your own reality. But there comes a day when enough is enough. A day when your soul says, I've had it. A day when you stop dancing to their tune and start writing your own song. And that is the day the narcissist realizes it's over. And oh, their reaction, first comes confusion. Wait, what's happening? They can't believe you're not responding the way you used to. You're calm, you're clear, you're done. That throws them off. Then comes the rage, the smear campaigns, the guilt tripping. The sudden fake apologies. They'll say anything, do anything to pull you back into the cycle. But here's the key, it's not love. They just lost their control. They lost their supply. They lost you. Then, the fear. Yes, the narcissist feels fear, but not the kind you and I feel. It's not fear of losing the relationship. It's fear of losing their illusion of power, fear of exposure, fear of facing the emptiness they've been hiding behind all along. But here's the gift in all of this. Your clarity becomes your superpower, because when you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, when you reclaim your energy, your boundaries, your voice, you win. You're no longer reacting. You're no longer trying to fix the unfixable. You've stepped out of their drama and into your destiny. You see, this isn't just about the narcissist realizing it's over. It's about you realizing it's over. It's about you standing up and saying, no more of my peace will be sacrificed. No more of my truth will be denied. No more of my power will be handed away. Because when you finally say goodbye, not just in words but in action, in energy, in presence, the narcissist might panic, they might lash out, they might play the victim, the hero, or even the savior. But it won't matter anymore. Because you're already gone. You're not just breaking up. You're breaking free. So let them react. Let them spiral. Let them throw their final tantrums. That's not your burden anymore. That's their mirror to face. And while they sink deeper into their games, you rise. You rise into healing, into wholeness, into wisdom. You rise into a life on your terms. This isn't just the end of a toxic chapter. It's the beginning of your empowered life. Now go write the next page. Your way, you've already won. When a narcissist loses control, it's not always loud at first. It starts with something subtle. Your silence, your detachment, your refusal to play the role they've written for you in their script. Narcissists thrive on emotional reactions because that's how they feed their need for significance and dominance. When you stop reacting, you starve the very machine that drives their control. This isn't just about walking away physically. It's about withdrawing your emotional energy. It's about shifting the power dynamic back into your hands, even if your hands are shaking while you do it. They've spent so much time programming you to respond in specific ways. If they get angry, you apologize. If they play the victim, you console. If they lash out, you try to explain. This loop is their lifeline, but the moment you step out of that loop and respond with calm certainty, or better yet, no response at all, you disrupt everything. Your calm becomes unsettling to them, your boundaries become a wall they can't climb, and that's when they realize they're not in charge anymore. This isn't just confusing to them, it's terrifying, because narcissists depend on your emotional energy to feel in control. They don't build connection the way healthy people do. They build control through chaos, through manipulation, through making you doubt yourself. When that tactic stops working, they begin to unravel. You become unpredictable to them, and that unpredictability means they can't manipulate you like before. And for a narcissist, losing predictability is the same as losing control. You're no longer giving them the reactions that once empowered them. You're not arguing, you're not defending, you're not chasing. You're simply done. That shift, that moment of non-engagement, is what unhinges them. Because now they have to face what they never wanted to see, a version of you that no longer needs their approval, no longer fears their disapproval, and no longer responds to their chaos. This is where their control begins to crumble. Not because you yelled, not because you fought, but because you chose peace over proving. Because you walked away with your power intact, without needing their permission or closure. The moment the narcissist realizes their control over you is slipping, their first instinct is confusion, followed quickly by manipulation. This is the only language they truly know, how to twist reality, bend the truth, and rewrite the narrative in their favor. They don't process the situation like someone with emotional depth or accountability. Instead, they go into survival mode, because for them, losing control isn't just about losing a relationship. It's about losing their ability to dominate. At first, their confusion looks like disbelief. They might ask questions like, "Why are you acting like this?" Or "What's wrong with you lately?" As if your awakening, your clarity, your boundaries are the problem. This isn't real curiosity. It's strategic. They're trying to locate the weak spot. They're searching for the emotional trigger they used to pull with ease. But when they can't find it, they begin to panic. That panic doesn't come across as fear, it shows up as a calculated return to manipulation. Suddenly, you might hear them say things that sound like concern. "I'm worried about you," or "I think you're overreacting." These are not genuine sentiments, they're tools. They're attempts to redirect the spotlight, make you second, guess yourself, and reopen the door they know you're trying to close. Narcissists are experts at shifting. They'll become the victim, the martyr, the savior, whatever role gets them back into your head, your heart, your emotions. They may also double down on tactics that used to work: gaslighting, triangulation, guilt, tripping. They'll bring up past moments where you messed up, twist your intentions, or accuse you of being cold or selfish. But if you stay grounded, if you don't bite the bait, they start to lose footing. Because manipulation only works on someone who still doubts their own truth. The irony is, the more they manipulate, the clearer it becomes who they really are. What they mean as control, you now recognize as desperation. What once kept you stuck now sets you free. You see through the fog. Their mask begins to slip, not because they've changed, but because you have. You're no longer responding from confusion, fear, or obligation. You're responding with clarity and strength. When a narcissist realizes the relationship is truly over, one of the first responses they reach for is rage, followed by guilt, tripping. It's a classic shift from covert manipulation to overt aggression. Rage in the narcissist's world isn't just anger, it's a weapon. It's a last-ditch attempt to shock you back into submission. They can't comprehend your calm detachment, so they attack it. They'll yell, accuse, insult, and provoke, all in hopes that you'll emotionally collapse and re-engage with them on their terms. This rage is not a sign of love or care, it's a sign of entitlement. The narcissist believes they own your reactions, your attention, and your decisions. When they see you choosing independence, they take it as a personal threat to their illusion of superiority. That's why they go from playing the victim to becoming the aggressor so quickly. They want to punish you for breaking their unspoken rule: you don't leave me, I leave you. And when rage doesn't work, when you stay grounded, calm, and unshaken, that's when they pivot into guilt, tripping. They know rage can only push so far, so they switch tactics. They'll suddenly become remorseful, reflective, or fragile. They'll remind you of all they did for you, how much they loved you, and how unfair you're being. But this guilt isn't rooted in love, it's rooted in control. They want to use your empathy against you. They know your compassion has kept you tethered before, and they're banking on it happening again. They may bring up your past mistakes, not to heal but to manipulate. They'll say things like, "I always forgave you," or "You're abandoning everything we built." Their aim is to make you question your decision, to make you feel like the villain in the story you've finally decided to leave. But this time, something's different. This time, their words don't penetrate like they used to. You recognize the pattern, you recognize the trap, and most importantly, you recognize your right to walk away without guilt. This phase can be incredibly intense because narcissists are at their most dangerous when they feel they're losing control. They'll pull every emotional lever available, escalating the situation in hopes of destabilizing you. But once you've seen behind the curtain, once you've tasted emotional freedom, their tactics lose their power. When a narcissist senses they're losing you, they often resort to fake apologies as a final strategy to pull you back in. These apologies aren't rooted in genuine remorse or self-awareness. They're manipulative performances designed to reset the dynamic in their favor. At first glance, they may sound sincere. They might even come with tears, promises of change, and dramatic declarations of love. But beneath the surface, these apologies are calculated moves meant to disarm your defenses and re-establish control. Narcissists understand that apologies can be powerful, especially when you've been waiting for acknowledgement or accountability. They may suddenly seem like a completely different person, calm, attentive, and emotionally present. They'll say things like, "I know I hurt you," "I finally see what I did wrong," or "Let's start fresh." But watch closely, and you'll notice that their apology is vague, lacking detail, or subtly shifts blame back onto you. They might say, "I'm sorry you felt that way," or "I'm sorry but you were pushing me too far." These aren't apologies, they're disguised attacks or guilt trips. Their goal isn't healing, it's to stop you from leaving. Because when a narcissist senses you've emotionally detached, they panic. Your absence threatens their ego, your strength threatens their illusion, and so they scramble to say whatever they think will pull you back into the loop. These fake apologies are often accompanied by love bombing, sudden gifts, sweet messages, unexpected kindness. It's all part of the performance, not for connection, but for control. The danger of these false reconciliations is that they can momentarily feel real, especially if you're emotionally vulnerable or still holding on to hope. But what usually follows is a return to the same toxic patterns, sometimes even worse. The narcissist wasn't apologizing to change, they were apologizing to reset your tolerance. They wanted to prove that they can still reel you back in. Over time, as you grow in clarity and self-trust, you begin to spot the difference between real remorse and manipulative tactics. A real apology comes with changed behavior, consistency, and responsibility, not just words. You stop falling for empty promises and start recognizing the emotional bait for what it is. The narcissist's fake apology, once so convincing, becomes just another failed strategy in the face of your emotional evolution. Your emotional detachment is the narcissist's biggest fear, not because they care deeply, but because it signals the collapse of their control. Narcissists aren't fueled by connection. They are fueled by domination, by reaction, by the certainty that they can push your buttons and predict your responses. When you detach emotionally and energetically, you break that cycle. You stop feeding the dynamic they depend on. It's like removing the oxygen from a fire. The flames don't die instantly, but they weaken, flicker, and eventually burn out. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop caring overnight. It means you stop being controlled by what they say, how they act, or how they treat you. It means you no longer feel the need to explain your truth to someone committed to denying it. You start responding with neutrality rather than emotion. You don't react to the bait. You stop defending, justifying, or trying to be understood by someone who only listens to control the conversation. And this calm, this clarity, is what terrifies them the most. To a narcissist, your detachment is a declaration. I no longer need you to validate me. That statement, even when unspoken, cuts deep into their ego. Their entire identity is built on the idea that they are important, central, and irreplaceable. When you show them that they're not, that you can think clearly, feel freely, and live fully without their approval, it challenges the very foundation of their self-image. They will try everything to shake that detachment. They'll provoke you, love bomb you, guilt trip you, or suddenly become the person you always wished they'd be. Not out of love, but out of fear, because your emotional distance exposes the hollowness of their power. You're no longer an emotional puppet on their strings. You're a grounded, aware, self-led individual who has reclaimed your voice and your peace. It's not uncommon for a narcissist to escalate once they sense this detachment. They feel exposed, desperate, and out of control. But instead of being pulled back in, you observe it with clarity. You no longer interpret their panic as love. You see it for what it is, fear of losing the grip they once had. Your silence, your boundaries, your emotional freedom becomes a mirror they can't escape, and a turning point they cannot reverse. True power comes when you stop engaging and start healing. For so long, your energy may have been consumed by trying to make sense of the chaos, trying to fix what was never yours to fix, and trying to earn the bare minimum of love and respect. But real transformation begins the moment you stop looking outward for validation and start looking inward for peace. It's the shift from survival to sovereignty, from being reactive to being intentional. When you stop engaging with the narcissist, you reclaim your mental, emotional, and spiritual bandwidth. You begin to realize how much of your life was being filtered through the lens of their moods, their manipulations, and their narrative. Every conversation, every silence, every decision felt like it was weighed against how they might respond. But when you step back, when you stop dancing to their rhythm, something powerful happens. Your identity begins to reemerge. You start to hear your voice again. You start to feel your truth again. And you start to trust your intuition again. Healing doesn't come from winning arguments or getting the narcissist to admit they were wrong. That's a trap that keeps you tied to the dysfunction. Healing comes from no longer needing that closure. It comes from realizing that peace isn't something they can give or take. It's something you claim for yourself. And when you do, you begin to see clearly. You recognize the patterns. You stop personalizing their projections. You stop internalizing their blame. This is the space where true power is born. Not loud, not aggressive, but steady, quiet, and unshakable. It's the power of boundaries, the power of clarity, the power of choosing your own growth over their approval. You begin investing in yourself, your health, your joy, your goals. You surround yourself with people who see you, not use you. You create a life that reflects your worth, not their wounds, and the most profound part, you begin to experience peace without waiting for permission. You begin to smile without guilt, breathe without fear, and walk forward without constantly looking back. What once felt like the end now becomes a beginning. Not just freedom from them, but freedom to be you.